Well, a new poll shows support for the Allen government in Victoria is slightly dipped as an Ombudsman report took aim at the politicisation of the public service 1 year after the latest state election. It's also 1 year since Victoria's opposition leader John Pesutto was voted in by colleagues into the job, and he joins me now live in our Melbourne studio. Thanks very much for your time.
Always a pleasure, Simon. Good to be here.
1 year in the job.
Yeah.
Do you feel you've gained a little bit of momentum? I mean, it can be difficult for oppositions, particularly in Victoria with 4-year terms. But how do you assess your time in the job?
Yes, we have gained, and it's the first of 4 years, so we've got a long way to go. But when I look back on the last 12 months, we've made gains on where we started. So in terms of the Parliament, Simon, we've had a real impact in reforming what the Parliament does around corruption. For example, the Integrity Oversight Committee, we now have a non-government chair. That was due to us. We established the Commonwealth Games Inquiry, which we did by attracting the support of all the non-government MPs. We've driven the debate on bail, on Paul Denyer. Out in the electorate, we've had some good wins in Narrabeen and Warrandyte, and although we didn't win Mulgrave, we had 24 days to campaign and we improved our primary vote by 4.5%. Had we more time...
Came third though.
Yeah, but we came second on primary and we've got more work to do. But what it showed was that in the time that we did have to target the areas we could afford to in that time, we had real solid swings to us. More to do, but we've achieved a lot. And on issues, we've driven the debate around household income and debt and taxes. We've led the debate on home ownership and housing affordability, and we've really pressed the government hard on its mismanagement and waste.
Still got a bit of ground to cover up, but looking at the latest Resolve political monitor in The Age today, it shows the ALP is still ahead 37 points on primary vote. They're down 2. You're up 1 as a coalition, but there's still a fair bit of way to go between where you are and Jacinta Allen is on the preferred Premier stakes. Do you think enough people know you across the state of Victoria?
Well, I've been in the job for 12 months as opposition leader. What I will say about the polls is this. The data shows I am moving in the right direction. My team is moving in the right direction. Jacinta Allen and her team are moving in the wrong direction. So some interesting takeouts of the polling. 18 to 34s, our numbers are up 5 points, the government's down 4. Amongst women, we're up 4 points, the government's down 5. We've split the preferred Premier spread by half. The primary vote, Labor is down significantly from where it was at the start of the term, so having come off a third election win. So what I would say for all of our viewers is that under me, the opposition Liberals are moving in the right direction, government is moving in the wrong direction. I'll tell you why that's happening. It's because cost of living is really hurting in Victoria. And those numbers around 18 to 34s, particularly around females, cost of living is the top issue. And we've been leading the debate on that.
Where can there be cost of living relief for Victorians though? Because there's a lot of levers that can be pulled federally. What levers could a state government pull in the next 6 months though to try and make things a bit easier?
Yeah, absolutely there are things the government should be doing, but it won't. First of all, we have to get cost control and financial discipline around the major projects. We now know, not just on what I'm saying, but what the International Monetary Fund, the Reserve Bank of Australia, Jim Chalmers, the Federal Labor Treasurer, are all saying cost blowouts and mismanagement of our major projects is driving up or helping to drive up interest rates.
That's an issue right across the country,
yeah,
though,
but we make it worse because Victoria under Jacinta Allen accounts for more than half of the combined state debt around infrastructure projects. So Victoria is really driving it. And bear in mind, it's not only driving it for Victorians, it's actually having an impact nationally. Also, we've got to cut out the corruption and waste. And we saw some of that this week with the politicisation of the public service, which Deborah Glass's Ombudsman report on, because that has an impact on major projects and other decisions.
Do you feel that report wasn't as stinging as it was all billed up to be?
Look, I still think there are issues around appointments, but bear in mind, to be fair...
The Ombudsman found no evidence of politicisation within the actual... in terms of party political position
of appointments
in there.
In processes, you certainly... But here's the other thing. To be fair to the Ombudsman here, the Ombudsman made it clear in her report that because of the culture of fear and secrecy under Jacinta Allen and Daniel Andrews, people in the public service were too scared to come forward and give evidence. That's a real indictment. We
heard just yesterday from Daniel Andrews in a first interview. He spoke to a podcast that's hosted by a former Labor figure. Let's just have a listen to some of what he had to say.
All this nonsense, centralisation of power and, control freakness and all this sort of stuff. This is all bull. Like, you have to have that. Otherwise you just become listless. You're just adrift.
Make of the attitude there towards... We're not sure yet whether this was recorded before or after the report came out, but clearly there's an attitude there from the former Premier towards this. What do you make of it?
Well, I'm concerned not only about what Daniel Andrews said. He's been as dismissive and arrogant about the Ombudsman and the IBAC as he's ever been. What concerned me most during the week is that his understudy, Jacinta Allen, who'd been understudy to Daniel Andrews for many years, has shown that she continues to be his understudy. She's doing the same thing. She's dismissing the Ombudsman's report. Remember, the Ombudsman report found there was a culture of fear and secrecy, that politicisation, while she didn't go into the appointments, she did find that politicisation by Jacinta Allen and Daniel Andrews has affected things like the suburban rail loop, which is a $200 billion plus sinkhole.
But not one finding against one person, though. They spoke to thousands. They looked at thousands of appointments. They spoke to dozens of people. Not one finding, though.
Yeah,
how can you prosecute that argument?
Yeah, but Simon, can I suggest that let's not fall for Labor's spin. Labor tries to say no one's been prosecuted or nobody's been put in the dock. That's not the point of the reports. Robert Redleek, the former IBAC Commissioner, and Deborah Glass, the outgoing Ombudsman, are making the point that there are serious findings around culture, around secrecy and fear, a lack of transparency. That the reason I said during the week that this Ombudsman's report was probably the most significant in the last 10 years is because, unlike a lot of the other reports, it affects all of the major decision-making around things that we as taxpayers in Victoria will have to pay for and foot the bill for. So all of the blowouts on suburban rail loop, the waste and debacle around the Commonwealth Games fiasco, which Jacinta Allen herself oversaw, that's happening precisely because of politicisation.
Well, John Pesutto, appreciate your time. You think you'll be here another year, all the way to the election?
Absolutely. And Simon, for all of our viewers, this is a 4-year process. We've made gains this year. We've got so much more work to do. But here's the thing. We're heading in the right direction. People are hurting.
You don't think the legal action will be a distraction?
No. And Jacinta Allen and her government, Simon, they're heading in the wrong direction because people are actually hurting, and we'll continue the good work with it.
Surely going to court's a bit of a distraction.
Well, I'm not the one doing it. I'm focused on my job. And, we didn't get to talk today, but maybe I can come back and we can talk about that household income finding today from the ABS.
Yeah, we will. John Pesutto, appreciate your time. Thanks.
Anytime, Simon. Thank you.